I was waiting for you too. So, hello every pony. Welcome to the live stream. And yes, that is Miyavi, crazy Japanese guitarist. And when I say
Hold
crazy, I
on.
mean blow you off the wall. But this is not the real thing. Today, our very own mindless Gonzo is going to read us a special My Little Pony club fiction. Even I don't know what it is. So,
I'm along for the ride here.
I have no idea what this is either, so this will be a surprise for every pony here.
yeah, this is basically a cold.
Yes.
This is basically a cold fiction. I mean, a cold read. A cold read. So, well,
I
Gonzo,
mean, this is about as cold as gets.
basically. All right. So, girl, and Mean Spirit is missing in action. All right then. So, Gonzo, you take the floor. I'm gonna mute my mic and I'm gonna draw because reasons.
Wait, what are you gonna draw
It's
anyway?
all listening.
Wait, what?
I'm gonna mess around on Nightflower Minecraft server.
No,
Uh,
don't. Oh wait.
I was gonna try and ask, what are you drawing? I don't know if you told them, everybody.
That is a surprise. Actually, I don't know what I'm gonna draw. Who knows?
Might as well get me over with. Might as well get me over with, really.
Oh yeah, I'm going to draw you very sexy.
All right. Every pony.
Poor Gonzo.
Shut it, Jen. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to witness me probably try to make myself seem ridiculous on a live stream. And if, well, I'm probably going to ask Nightflower for a copy of it and to post it and see how further I get myself embarrassed on YouTube. Maybe, but anyways, the fanfic is called Cheerilee and Fluttershy's Cottage. It's supposed to be Cheerilee and Fluttershy. I'm not sure how explicit this is, and if someone found an explicit one, I'm probably going to take that afterwards. Anyways, this here is through Cheerilee's point of view, as from what the synopsis tells me. Let's see how Cheerilee. Sorry. Let's see how Cheerilee reacts. And no, nobody's referencing Shed.mov. For the love of God, I hate that fucking clip. Okay?
I gave Dusk a shed. Unfortunately, I can't go in it. Even if I wanted to.
Yay, everybody.
Man, fuck your shit.
Can I go on?
Yes, Gonzi.
Thank you. I don't even know how I'm supposed to do Cheerilee, but screw it. I knocked on her door and it swung open almost immediately. Come on in, Fluttershy said as I was already walking past her. Make yourself at home. Thanks, Fluttershy. I groaned and flopped down on the couch. The room was dimly lit and smelled of incense and animal dander. A nice place to crash for those not predisposed to allergies. You're an angel, you know that? Did you just get out of class? Fluttershy asked as I pried a horseshoes off my hooves and threw them on the floor. Fluttershy picked them and every last rusty nail up. She's too good for me. Sure did, I explained. Came right here. I didn't even finish the paperwork. I had too much of the godforsaken bullshit. Sounds stressful, she said. She's a nice mare, but I wonder just how much she knows about stress. I think of quitting, I told her. Maybe I'll move to Hawaii, open a tequila distillery, and sling booze in a bar down by the beach for surf bums and middle-aged mid-equestrian divorcees looking for a quick buck. Oh, now, I'm sure it's not that bad, she said. Did something happen today? Not anything that doesn't happen on any given weekday. Will you tell me about it? I'm not supposed to. It's all confidential. I could lose my job. Well, you can trust me, Fluttershy told me. If you want to talk. Jesus Christ. I was about to put my life into this mare's hands. I sure as hell hoped that I could trust her. Why not? I didn't even like my job anyway. Well, I got one student who belongs in an institution, not a school. I know it, he knows it, the district psychiatrist knows it, but the parents refuse to listen. They sued the school for everything we got if we try to do anything about it, and the kid's a time bomb. I've got half a dozen students who have parents that can barely afford to feed them, and none of them actually care about learning anything, which is exactly why their parents ended up as dirt poor trash in the first place. I got one kid with a drooling simpleton for a mother, and the other kid's always making fun of her over it. And I got one filly who's, I'm pretty sure, is being molested by her older brother. Oh my gosh. Are you supposed to tell somebody? I do. The cops and social workers have their hooves tied. They can't do anything without more evidence that he's sticking his throbbing member into every hole in that little filly's body. I reached into my saddlebag and pulled out a hip flask. I took a long, burning drink of it. That's terrible, she said. I took another drink. Are you sure you should be drinking on top of everything else? Nothing's the matter, Rhea, I assured her. It's perfectly safe, no problem here. Okay. Shit. I can't believe she even asked. Perfectly safe, the poor fool. What the? Oh, hold on. Yeah. Sorry. Resume.
Click.
Perfectly safe? The poor fool. The poor fool. It's like throwing gasoline on a barbecue. I'd be lucky if my heart didn't stop beating. Thinking about it is when your job is so awful that you can't take conscious thought anymore. The existential crisis that comes with the thought of not waking up in the morning just isn't that frightening. Besides, it's not like I pretended. It's not like I needed the booze. When you try to forget everything, you might as well take anything. I also had a hoof full of multicolored pills I confiscated from various students over the last few weeks. I have no idea what they were, of course. They got them from home, no doubt. One could have been Dad's alopecia, the other Grandma's laxative. Oh well, down the hatch. I can remember my first drink. Not that evening, but my first drink ever. I barely got my cutie mark, and my friends and I were having out fun, unsupervised. I remember being interested in the effects of my old man's low-end whiskey on my cognition, from a totally detached scientific perspective, naturally. I remember it seemed to come in waves. First I'd not be drunk, then a little drunk, then a little more drunk, and then so that fashion until I was perfectly aware of just knee-bruising drunk I was. God, the 80s. What a mixed up time. My central memory of that seems to be how everything new and exciting felt. It wasn't good, but maybe someday it would all lead up to something wonderful. Music, fashion, politics, whatever it was, you got the sense of some kind of utopia was right around the corner. What a pathetic bunch of rubes. We never understood it was all cheap commercial pitch. Got plastic crap with all our money in exchange for some greasy Maine monster could snort an 8-ball off of Griffin's prostitute's cock. Fuck it, I miss the 80s. That doesn't happen anymore, those are the ways. Hell, I don't know when I'm drunk at all. Maybe that's a sign. Sheer stone's throw away from being a true drunk. Wino, curled up in a cardboard box somewhere behind a convenience store. Beats teaching. That was when I was decided to take the Valium. Suddenly the room was filled with a cacophony of chirping and screeching, birds swooping down from the ceiling, squirrels running right around my lap. I was right in the middle of a fucking petting zoo. Fluttershy was returning from the kitchen with a tray full of the good stuff. Her pets had come in with her. Oh, I'm sorry, she said. Sorry, I thought. Be sorry when you see what I did to the head of your white rabbit. What? Never mind, I told her. Jesus, did I say that aloud? Are they listening? Can they hear me? Are you sure you're willing to do this? She asked me for the 100th time. Apparently she couldn't see the rubber hose I was already tying around my front leg just above the knee. Let's do it, I said. It's not that I have fear of needles. But if you're going to get shot up with that much experimental horse tranquilizer, it's best to have someone around in case you need CPR. I could feel it already in my bloodstream. And then when I took off the tourniquet, it was like being hit by a tsunami inebriation. That great final wave I never found in a bottle when I was a kid. I feel like a village idiot in some children's cartoon. I think I started mumbling random words. Fork, fuck the pony, no fun mine, Bob's your oyster, turning the air into ice. I could feel myself being lifted, at least my hooves. She was picking them up and laying back on the couch. Sorry. Now, she said, are you also sure you want the fucking sex? I'm not actually sure she said the word fucking part. That's not her style. All I'm saying that is what I've heard. Oh, yes, I told her. It was half the reason I was here. There's nothing more depraved and arousing than sex in the depths of a drug and alcohol binge. I had the feeling she was excited for it, too. I bet she gets off the idea of fucking some helpless patient that she's nursing to health. Not that I ever actually confronted her about that. She's just as sweet. That's the thing about mayors like Fluttershy. They're indispensable to a true junkie. There's nothing more assuring than a mature hippie chick who's got no qualms at all about talking you down from a dangerous high. You've never known comfort until you found yourself healing by a pretty little thing by her. Whispering sweet words of encouragement to your ear, too. She started with a massage. I don't know why. I never asked her to. It would have been fine with me if she plunged her face right into my twat. I don't even like massage. She's shy, I guess. She wanted to start slow. I'm not sure what was the exact moment my hind legs turned first into stone, then a kind of porous clay. I think it was around the time she started to knead my calves. I looked down at the legs, were still the same burgundy color as always. But under their coat of hair, there must have been a grayish sandstone. I knew because I could feel it. As she moved up my thighs, I had a brief panic attack. I never walked again. I had to cut these legs off of mine with the jaws of life, leaving 2 bloody stumps. I couldn't move my legs at all. Total paralysis. Then suddenly I remembered that I could move them after all. All was well again. She asked me why I was laughing, and I told her about narwhals. She laughed too. I don't know why. Poor thing couldn't even see him. She moved up to my hips, and suddenly I was drowning and choking on my own giggles. Terrible way to die, being tickled to death. She gave out the massage for laughing too hard herself, and she collapsed on top of me. My face was covered, swimming in a sea of soft pink hair. Then her face buoyed to the surface. She kissed me. Her lips tasted of buttered English muffins and tea with honey. Her tongue of secret inner flesh and sex. She liked my chin. She kissed on it and sucked on it and pressed her wide lips against it. I was glad nobody had ever liked my chin the way she liked it. She seemed like the nape of my neck just as well. She was moving down and down on my body, loving every bit of it. As she moved down, it seemed to me as if it were moving up. Not up on the couch, but up in the air. With my eyes closed, I have lost all visual references with direction. I was standing on the shoulders of a giant.
It's
Hold
not
on.
an addiction! Glop, 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 glop.
Not yet. Damn it, someone wants to fucking stream. Oh, the people. That's what I get for doing a live. I was standing on the shoulders of a giant. Then I was a Pegasus flying above the clouds. There were wings or sun-lifting body attached to my navel. A warming, suckling umbilicus taking me to heaven. As I moved higher, my wings moved lower, to that long, wonderful, neglected patch between my navel and my slit. And then I was supported up at my pussy itself. It was then I looked down. It's strange to say, but up until this point, none of this has been sexual. even the French kissing. I was only reacting to stimuli, observing it with the same clinical detachment I always mustered. Yeah, I think about now I'm starting to board that train out of this fanfic. Oh well.
Also, you're just reading it. You're not adding much voices to it.
Yeah. Now, though, now everything changed. Fluttershy's lips pressed against my pussy, dry as far as I could tell. The floodgates opened, mentally and physically. In a second, Fluttershy's face was already soaked. Her pink mane was matted to her forehead. Some of that could have been her own saliva, sure, but no doubt it was mostly my own juices. It felt like somebody had opened up a faucet. I closed my eyes, and in my own mind's eye, that's what's happening. It was pouring out of me like a gusher, then like a fire hose. I was blasting Fluttershy in the face. It was spraying up and back and landing all over us. I screamed in pleasure and blinked my eyes. Everything was normal again. Fluttershy saw her face buried between my legs. Her tongue was doing amazing things to and inside of my body. I felt the feeling of paralysis returning to my body. I knew I could move my body, I just couldn't remember how. All I could do was watch. Fluttershy's muzzle was pressed into me. Soft cartilage of her nose was sticking out of the top of my cleft, snuffing and slurping as she worked. The couch seemed to sink, or perhaps I was sinking into it. Leg rests were growing taller, maybe we were both sinking. My world went dark, and I only realized that my eyes had slipped shut again. Her tongue was electric, a blue silver whip lashing at the pleasure center of my soul. She coiled up like a snake around my clit and pulled. She wiggled it inside of me, up past my G-spot, up past my cervix, up into my womb and beyond, my heart, my lungs. She grabbed a hold of my brain and squeezed it, forcing me to orgasm. I couldn't breathe. I was under hundreds of tons of seawater, and suddenly I was washed back up on that beach with warm sun and hermit crabs. Sapphire Shores was playing at the tiki bar wearing a purple afro wig. I snapped back into reality. My orgasm was over. I could hear Fluttershy breathing heavily, wet. I think I spurted in her face when I came. She didn't seem to mind. She was still digging her face into me furiously. Her tongue was still deep inside, my lips kissing her face. She pressed her muzzle into me. Her nose went popping in. Then the bridge of her nose. She closed her eyes and they disappeared. My lips wrapped around her cheeks, then her whole face. I had a hold of her ears, but then they too slipped in. Her neck, one hoof, another, both front legs. She was unbirthing. My womb swelled large, pregnant, rabbit. I felt the joy of motherhood that I always wanted but never experienced. I looked down and saw only her two wings emerged. 10 feet across in either direction, huge, erect, phallic. They weren't the wings of a Pegasus, but of an enormous bird of prey. Terrible when they flapped. I blinked. Fluttershy reappeared, same as normal. She was looking at me with a smile, her tongue still tickling my clit. What were in those pills, I wondered. How long could I maintain? I don't know how long she ate me out. The sun and the arc across the sky flickered past the window. Dinosaurs evolved and became extinct. Fluttershy was moving up my body again, slowly and steady as the glacier moved through the front yard. She sat on my belly, her hind legs above mine, by the mast, and did as like a camel indeed. She shifted her hips downward, her ass sticking down between my legs until her pussy met mine. Then she started to hump me. Sometimes she has a cock, sometimes I did, sometimes both inside each other. Always humping. The ocean returned, and we were both now lost in the storm and monstrous swells. I reached my hand up to her chest and squeezed her big floppy tits. Her mane spread from her head in an unseen wind. Magical, flowing like Princess Queen. Fluttershy dominated over me. I was ready to serve her until the end of the world. Wait a minute. Tits? Hands? Never mind.
It's Anthro!
She leaned down and pressed her other lips against my other lips. I could taste my cunt on her lips. I loved it. I liked her mouth around, savoring the flavor I would never know directly. I wanted more, and she seemed to read my mind. I actually thought she could read my mind if for a moment I felt violated, despite having consented to all of this in the first place. She got up off me and turned around. The final course. The creme de la creme. The coup de grace. She got back down on me, backwards. I could see it coming a mile away. I could smell her. She was like me. Her ass cheeks were two enormous yellow moons, soft and luscious, falling from the sky. She lowered her pussy to my lips. It was wet. Her little wrinkly lips seemed so delicate. My tongue slid from my mouth, and I don't remember doing it voluntarily, but it just happened. I felt her love opening on my mouth like some kind of blossoming flower. I saw images of light carnation pinks, deeper rosy pinks, and within there were reddish purple, purplish red, maroon, magenta, burgundy, deeper colors that faded to black like the darkest of red wines. Her nectar was a torrent, and I was a woman who had just crawled out of a shady, hard-pan desert. I was overwhelmed. I was drowning. I was suffocating. She was smothering me. That was when she lowered her head and returned her tongue to my pussy. It was like a diamond bullet straight to my breath. I lost all fear and doubt. All earthly sensations left my mind except for the orgasmic bliss. I rose above it all, above the both of us. I looked down and I could see us there, licking and moaning and forgetting our troubles between the loins of the other. We seemed to merge, becoming one yin-yang. No clear borders between the face of one and the vulva of the other. We seemed to penetrate each other. Ouroboros, the world snake that ate its own tail. We seemed to contract, withdrawing to the other. Then I felt like I was being pulled, snapping back to my own body. The orgasm brought me back just in time to rock through my body. Hers followed soon after. Her whole pussy seemed to pulse with the force of that approaching storm. A sudden deluge fell on my face, and a part of me wanted to laugh, but instead I lapped it all up and continued throwing myself into that pink and red maelstrom, eager to please my guardian angel. I can remember my last lucid thought involved the sight of her little butthole, clean, puckered, and sweet. Her long pink tail emerged from her spine just above it. Most of the time it was hidden from view, and in public you weren't supposed to stare. Now, though, it drew my attention, and not because it was just in front of my eyes. Normally such a sight I would consider vulgar, obscene, base. Only a Fluttershy could an anus look so adorable. That was my last conscious thought before oblivion took me. I remember nothing after that, although Fluttershy would tell me later I was alert for an hour or more. I woke up the next morning thanking God it was the weekend and I wasn't due in class. The place was a mess. I was a mess. Most of my coat was sticky and mated with dry saliva and vaginal fluid, maybe some booze. My mouth tasted like her pussy or maybe mine. It didn't matter. I sat up, Fluttershy sitting still next to me. She was curly up in a little ball, her little pet rabbit snuggling up next to her. I kissed my guardian angel on the cheek. Sweet thing. She was too good for me. I have a blast. I'll have to think of a way to truly and properly thank her later. The end.
The lolness.
The adorableness.
So what the fuck was I reading?
Ness.
Damn,
I have
Gonzo.
no idea.
Either you hit a peak on something or you just hit an all-time low. It's really hard for me to describe at this point.
I can't tell either.
Well, it just...
This is a point where you need to go and get a can and make it look like a can of Heineken and just drink the whole thing in front of a camera and record it. That's what's necessary at this point. Right there.